donations and everything. It's very helpful to keeping the doors open and furthering the mission of the Spirit of the Lotus. So thank you for that. And today we're going to be talking about this, the idea of a pilgrim, related to what Reverend Tara talked about last week. And also about freedom, because yesterday was the 4th of July. So it was the Declaration of Independence, and a lot of people associate that with freedom. In regards to the pilgrim, we were meditating on this concept, this peace pilgrim that Reverend Tara taught us about last week. And really thinking about what is a pilgrim. And one of the first is that there are pilgrims that are solo or alone. And then there's also these pilgrims that come in waves. And a lot of us associate pilgrims with the history of the United States, because they say the pilgrims came here. And pilgrims are seekers, but they are also that, and they may not, even realize it. So part of the history of the United States is this idea of pilgrims, people coming to this land with the idea of escaping tyranny and being free. And Reverend Tara talked about our other peace pilgrim. She was, walking for peace. So not necessarily freedom, but her focus was on peace. And pilgrims can have different focus. So it's not to say they're all for this or they're all for that. Pilgrims walk for some, like in Spain, pilgrims walk for healing or for spiritual, gifts. Pilgrims to Mecca, walking for spiritual gifts from God in service. It's a service to God. So there's all these different kinds of manifestations of pilgrims that we know of in the spiritual world. And even before that, and still now, pilgrims, if you look at a lot of the creation stories of the first peoples, a lot of the creation original stories are also pilgrims coming to this planet. Many of them come from the stars or the heavens, and many come from the earth. So there's pilgriming to this land, the first peoples. If we are to see ourselves also as pilgrims, what are we pilgriming for? What is our purpose? You can even ask, where did I come from? And don't limit the answers that you get. Also, with this idea of pilgrims, so it's like some pilgrims, one pilgrim could be the first, in the first, let's say for example, the first one to come out of the earth in a creation story. Or the first one to descend from the heavens. Or the first one to set foot on a piece of land with a certain intention. There's those first, but following that is an energy. An energy is created. And it clears the path for the other beings, waves, manifestations of God to manifest. And we're hearing, it's like the, like stepping foot on the moon. It's almost like exploring, but it's with intention. There's an intention there. And intention matters, as we shared. So this is something that we can contemplate is what are we pilgriming for? If you identify as a pilgrim, if you can see yourself as a pilgrim, and it doesn't mean that you're the first one. For like Mecca, every year, waves of people come. And it doesn't end or begin. It's just that pilgrimage. So looking at this, and what is the spirit, what is the energy of this pilgrimage that we're on? What are we embodying? So we really appreciate Reverend Tara's discourse last week on pilgrims, because it really opened up a lot of learning, if we call it learning, remembering. So, and the next part of this is us here living in the United States, from all different places, from all different walks of life. And the red, white, and blue, and the stars. So we work with color alchemy, and we know that red, white, and blue is transmutation, violet ray energy. Violet ray energy is not a stagnant energy. It is transmutative. It transfigures. It mutates. It is an energy of movement and change. This violet ray. At this time, we are given the opportunity to look at where our energy is stagnant. What is not okay? So, what is holding us? What shackles are binding us from this mutation, transmutation, transfiguration? And right now there's a lot of talk about slavery. And this is coming up to our consciousness, mass consciousness about slavery. And if we are taught and we are co-creators with God, and that it is our responsibility to clear this right here. And this is going more towards the fifth dimension. If you still believe that there needs to be a war, there needs to be this battle, it's like stuck in the third dimension. We have this opportunity to clear the battlegrounds here. And what we can do is start looking at what's holding us from being truly free. And it's always here. It's always ourselves. So this is not an easy process because a lot of people don't want to let go of the chains and they want to blame other people. Freedom is taking that true personal responsibility. If there is a system and it's looking within, perhaps there's a fear system, a fear of death, that's holding us back from expressing our authentic selves. We have the opportunity to address that fear of death, those shackles that bind us, and to let them go. And letting them go might not be as easy as we think it would be, because that's where we're comfortable. And it allows us to not take responsibility. So I know in psychology there's a term for that where you do something negative but you reap benefits from doing it. Certain behaviors that we do, we get more attention if we do them. And there's a bunch of examples like that. I don't remember what it's called, but it's the same thing. If we were to truly take responsibility for ourselves, a lot of the things that we're seeing would fall away, especially if it was done on like a mass consciousness. And there's pilgrims out there right now who are doing it and leading the way and showing us how to take the shackles off and leave them and not to drag them around, to let it go, and without blame, and taking personal responsibility. In this freedom, so many of us, we don't even know what to do with ourselves. We don't know who we are. We don't know what our purpose is. If you could imagine co-creating your being as a free being, completely free. Freedom is a state of being. What would be happening? And we don't want to say what would you be doing, because it's not about doing. If you imagine yourself and others, if you want, but you don't even have to do that because it's so powerful, the work you do here, in a complete state of freedom, can you imagine it? People don't know their purpose. They don't know why they're here. And having these shackles, these bindings, gives an excuse to buck the personal responsibility that is true freedom, of non-harming, of love, of expression, of manifestation. So take the time to release the shackles. What is holding us from being truly free? And if you find yourself pointing fingers and blaming something, like blaming money, blaming people, blaming systems, blaming this, blaming that, see if you can get a little bit deeper and really clear it within yourself. Where do you feel trapped, like you can't move? Where do you feel that you can't be your authentic self? Maybe it's fear of the authentic self, because then I wouldn't know who I am. I would be nothing. I mean, it's so, for each person, it's, you're your own being. You're your own pilgrim on this path. Use the transmutation power, the rainbow bridge. Use the rainbow bridge so there's balance. Use the violet energy to clear away stagnant energy that's holding us back. And it starts here. If you feel that you don't know what your purpose is, what are you pilgriming for? And why? If you're pilgriming for spiritual enlightenment, why? So, happy 4th of July, and we're all here in the United States together, I believe. Most of us live here in the United States that watch Sunday service. And we have this power to be free, to have a state of being of freedom. But it starts with self-mastery. So have a beautiful day. And it was also a full moon with a lunar eclipse. Very exciting. And we will do a rainbow bridge meditation right now.